No one has an overnight success. And very rarely do people knock on other people's doors. You as a filmmaker have to knock on the doors. I have been waiting now 26 years for someone to knock on my door and say, I'm going to give you the deal of a lifetime.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Today's host is Jaclyn Witt.
Welcome to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. My name is Jaclyn, and I know you probably haven't heard my voice in quite a while. Jeff and Matt have been the ones hosting a lot of the podcasts recently, but I'm excited to be back and to share the mic today with Alexandra Boylan. She was our very first guest. And you guys, I'm serious. When you can find people that see your vision and jump in and support you to make it happen, it is such a blessing. And so I'm so excited to have Alexandra back where we can catch up with what's been going on since then, and we'll just see where else it goes. So if you do not know Alexandra Boylan, I encourage you to go back and listen to her journey in episode 1 of the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. But just a brief little sum up, she has written and produced 8 feature films that have gone on to, almost all of them have made their money back and then some. And so, I mean, we actually have been doing a lot of things, helping people to do the same kind of thing, which we'll get into at some point. But welcome, Alexandra, to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast.
Thank you for having me back, Jaclyn.
You know, it's interesting when we invited you to come on the podcast, I think you had already done one workshop with us, and we were just so impressed. It was just an obvious no-brainer to have you on the podcast. I was so excited when you said yes. And then, like, seriously, you guys, I was just so in awe of what Alexandra was able to do and accomplish, and just the ability that she has to say, well, this isn't working. I'm going over here where I can make this work instead. And so I reached out to her and I asked if she would be willing and if she would have time to put together a mentorship program for FAF Association. And she said, yes, you guys. So we actually put this together, and it's just a lot of me asking questions, picking her brain, and figuring out, like, you know, how do we do this? So, Alexandra, I want to ask you, since this last podcast that you were on, which was literally 2 years ago, that was amazing. What has been going on for you since then?
Wow, that's going back in the memory bank. I can't believe it's been 2 years. And I think
I know.
I did it, in my backyard in my Sherman Oaks, California house. And so since then, we have actually gotten rid of that home and been traveling a lot and live in Montana. A lot of the time, I go back and forth between LA and Montana and everywhere else. So that is a huge change because I lived in Los Angeles for 26 years and now I have a cabin in Montana. But yeah, I want to say too, I wanted to do a class. So I just want to say how God's timing is amazing because I get so many people asking to pick my brain. I wrote the book, Create Your Own Career in Hollywood, to help other filmmakers. And then I was really wanting to do a class, but I didn't have all the skill sets or the website and all the things you need. And I felt intimidated and overwhelmed of how to start it. So when you called me and was like, do you want to do this? I was like, no way, girl. I've already been wanting to do this. So for me, it was like a blessing. So when you called me, Jaclyn, it was actually a God thing as I was researching this and praying for this opportunity. So you guys, like, that wasn't like, I feel like I was blessed by you, Jaclyn, to be able to join forces with you and create something that in my heart I had wanted to do for a long time. And I do, both Jaclyn and I love to inspire people. And I feel like in our industry, there's so much like, your success is my failure. I'm not going to share with you how I succeeded. And both of us have a heart that is not. Abundance rises in groups.
Exactly.
And we want to help each other succeed. And so I just want to start with there. And then, yeah, look at what God did with our relationship. I reached out to Jeff on LinkedIn when I saw what you guys were doing. And I think I asked, can I be a speaker? Can I participate? And then you guys had me do that. And now look at amazingness that God has used us in so many lives. So, but for the past 2 years, I've just like everyone else, I am struggling to get another movie made. And I have been like, I've made 8 features, and every time you start, it's like starting from scratch again. It is so hard to raise private investment. It is so hard to get a deal as the industry has shifted, distribution's changed, everything has changed. So the past couple of years, I've been focused on we've been writing novels and books and trying to stay productive and stay creative in the time when you don't have a movie going or you're in all these meetings. People love to have meetings, by the way. I have meetings all day long.
Don't I know it? I know. My whole week is full of meetings. And then I'm like, I feel like I got nothing done, but I was busy the whole time.
Exactly. I'm so busy taking meetings, talking about making movies. I'm like, I don't need to talk about making movies anymore. I want to make a movie. And people love to have meetings about how do you make a movie, but then it doesn't go anywhere. So that I agree. Like sometimes I feel like I'm wasting my time because the meetings go nowhere and then I wasn't productive doing something else. So it is a fine line of how many meetings you take a day. Because you have to have meetings. It's all about who you know and it's how you know them. And you never know which meeting is going to lead to the green light, to the yes for the project. So, but I did a lot of work for hire in the past couple of years. I wrote a biblical drama for somebody. I helped produce that for them. I wrote, we published the Switched novel that goes along with our movie Switched. We wrote a 3-part fairy tale series that we have published, and we're about to publish the technology tripping novel. So I've been writing and continuing to be creative and wanting to supply materials to my audience while I'm still trying to raise the private investment to make another movie.
Yes. Yeah. And when you say we, you're referring to your
My
sister, correct?
My sister and I, and I've written with some other people. I just wrote a rom-com with Kelsey Cook. That was really fun. Kelsey Cook is Kathleen Cook's daughter who runs Influence Women. And her and I had a lot of fun writing a rom-com. And so, I have been trying to spread out my tentacles of working with different people, having different, you have to have lots of partners in this business. No person is an island. So I want to have, especially I'm always looking at who is like us, Jaclyn, hustlers who work hard. I want to be surrounded by those people. So I'm always reaching out like, how can I work with you? How can we together pool our resources to do something successful?
Yeah. And, one of the things that we also have in common is joy in the process, in the work. It's not just like, I want to make a movie because I want to make money. I mean, anybody who's in it for the money, sorry, guys.
Get out. Run.
Then you better get into distribution or something. I don't know. But like for producers, it's you have to love what you do. You say this all the time and it's true. And I've noticed like that is part of the personality. You have to love the process. You have to love the work because that's moment by moment. If you're not getting something out of it, then you could easily grow weary. And I think that there is a lot of weariness. And that's not to, let me just clarify, that's not to say that the people who have grown weary didn't find joy in the process. I do think that there are times where because the money's not there and because we're not seeing a return on what we've done, it can get very discouraging. And, just to have a bit of real talk here, like I do talk with a lot of people in the industry, especially a lot of people in the indie industry, the faith-based filmmaking industry. And there are people that they're growing weary from the process because they're out there working their butt off, wanting to praise the Lord and making beautiful content. But if that content is not making a return for their investors or for themselves, like they're just pouring their heart and time and lives out for nothing, which makes you kind of feel like, well, what's the point? And so there's got to be a bit of a balance. But I want to ask you, especially since like you've gone through a period of time where you're working hard to try to get something off the ground and it's not moving. What do you do? How do you manage with that?
Well, I feel like it is very hard, you guys. I mean, I struggle with that too, weariness and like, is this not what God wants? Because if God wants it, nothing can stop it. If God doesn't want it, then nothing can make it happen. So I am always checking in with God, being like, Do you want me to pivot, God? Do you want me to change? What am I doing wrong? Are you just going to show me in a couple years exactly why I was held? And I do think that happens. Like, I've been able to see a project that was held for 3 years and then revealed why that project sat for 3 years. There was a God reason. So I do always pray to say, okay, God, I know your timing is perfect. And then I'm always like, what can I do right now that have no gatekeepers? Publishing books, there's no gatekeepers. I can write a book, I can put it on Amazon, I can put out a new product to my audience. So I think that that's another thing, is always looking at how, okay, I don't need $1 million to write a book, or I don't need, or to write resource materials, or, you know what I mean? So I think that's something I always am. How can I be creative? And I love screenwriting. So you can always be writing a script whenever you want to be, and then adding that into your portfolio for when you have a meeting, because you'll often have a meeting. I'll have like 4 projects and they're like, I don't want any of those. Do you have another one? And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, fine, I'll just keep writing other projects so that I have every wheelhouse that they might be looking for. But I think it's hard. I think you just really need to have strong friends in your life, a strong community, and you need to be always looking how you can pivot, and also use that time to learn what's going on in the industry. What is the industry looking for, and how can I participate in it, even if it doesn't look exactly how I thought it was going to look.
Right. Yeah. And then I'm going to tread tenderly on this next question. So for people that have produced, let's say it's beautiful work, and they're having trouble either getting it out to people or making money off of it, what could you suggest that they do in order to process that? Like, I mean, on the one hand, you have to process emotionally, but then from a business perspective, how do you process that?
That it's either not getting distributed or it's not being seen by the audience after it's being distributed. How do you process that from a business standpoint?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've said this a lot. No one's going to market as much as you are for your movie. You cannot rely on a distribution company or even a marketing company to spread the word like you will. So your job is to be marketing your projects as best you can, even if it's in the echo chamber of Instagram and TikTok, or you need to reach out to outlets and ask if you can get interviewed. Find ways to promote your product or your project, whether it's a movie, a book, a podcast, whatever. You have to be out there hustling. I do a lot of my own marketing, and I do a lot of my own reaching out to platforms. The other thing is, back in the day, a lot of independent filmmakers would just give their movie off to a major distribution company and be like, great, I hope you got this. They don't have this. They need you. I am building relationships with Faith and Family, with Wonder Project, with Angel Studios, with Tubi, every platform. And then as you have content, you can get meetings with those people, and then you're building your own. I'm pretty much helping my distribution company do their job by getting them meetings, getting my movies in front of the streamers, because sometimes the streamers don't know your movie exists. Because what if you're a distribution company? I just met with a really big faith-based network that does streaming, and they said, oh, we got the list of movies from your distribution company, but none of your films were on it. Like,
What?
so when I know, so I was like, hold the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
So guess what I went and did? I went back to my distribution company, redid the connection, and now my movies are on that platform. So I didn't know that. I usually, like, your distribution company might have a catalog of movies and say you are in the faith space. I just assumed all our movies were going to go to everywhere, but because I built a relationship with that platform, they were able to tell me your movies weren't in the catalog. I don't know why, but guess what? I made sure that my movies were considered, and now my movies are on that platform. So I think that's the other thing. It's really about hard work and diligence, and not relying on anybody else to do the hard work. And it's a lot of work, you guys. That's why Jaclyn always say you have to love what you do. It can't be about the money. I am funneling money into my distribution company's pocket, not my own, but it's my movie, and I care about the people who are going to see it. I care about my audience, and I care that I know that what I make is important for the world. So that has to be your driving force, that you're out there finding out that you weren't in the catalog, that went to the a platform that your movie should have been in. And who knows, maybe it was a mistake on the distribution side and they were like, oh, whoops, we're so sorry your films weren't in there. They have a lot of movies. So that's the thing. You cannot rely on anybody else to do the work for you. Marketing, distribution, platforms, you should be out there making relationships.
Yeah, one more hat to wear, right?
Just another hat. It is. Yeah. But that hat will pay off because every time you make a movie, you've got the relationships and you don't have to rely on anybody else. I have a spreadsheet of everyone who's ever interviewed me since Catching Faith 1. That's 14 years ago. And every time I have a movie that comes out, I don't rely on my marketing or my distributor. I write directly to them and say, I have a new movie. Do you want to interview me? And they're always like, yes, we do. So it's a lot of work, but you already spent a lot of work on making the movie. So don't you want to do a lot of work on everyone getting to see your movie?
Yes, exactly. And what I find so incredible too is that your movies have a reputation for being amazing sellers. Like they are in like very popular parts of the streaming platform, and like for At Your Own Risk, that's on the most popular list on Tubi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And your other films have done really well. So it amazes me that you still have to go and work so hard to get them onto the streaming platforms and to get people to know about them. So like, this is what I'm saying. Like, I understand that I think a lot of the time we have this kind of compartmentalization. Like for me as a screenwriter for a long time, I was thinking, I just want to write and then I'll sell it and I'll move on. But that's not what's been happening. It's like, no, I write it and then I have to go and pitch it. And then I have to go, even though like I have other like producers on the project, sometimes I'm still the one that's helping to make connections with the actors because they're like, oh, I want to attach this actor. And I'm like, do you know their agent or do you know that actor? Like, and this just happened recently where, the producers had reached out to a specific actor months ago, and then they let me know I'm still waiting to hear back from that actor. I have a friendship with that actor. I messaged him. I'm like, hey, by the way, did you check this out? Did you see this email? Did you read this script? And he's like, oh, no, I didn't realize it was there. So like you have to follow up. Like you've said this multiple times, like no one is going to love your movie as much as you do. And so you really do have to treat it like a baby, like it's your child, and you get out there and you find those opportunities for it and you help it to move forward and you help it to succeed. And that does sound like a lot of work.
It is.
But that's what it takes. It is a lot of work.
Yes, it is.
Ever watched an unsatisfying movie and wondered why it fell flat? The premise was great. The acting was pretty good. But the story itself left you feeling just meh. Don't let those stories be your stories. In my new book titled In the Beginning, Middle, and End, a screenwriter's observations of life, character, and God, I venture into developing and writing deep characters and satisfying storylines. But not only do I explain writing techniques in an entertaining way, sharing scenes from my own screenplays, but I parallel storytelling to life itself. Discover how to be the hero in your own hero's journey, how to engage with your author, and how to recognize when he's guiding the plot points of your life. In the Beginning, Middle, and End, a screenwriter's observations of life, character, and God by Jaclyn Witt. Available now on Amazon. Link in the show notes.
Hard Faith Fest is coming to New York City on Saturday, December 6th from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Producers Club in Manhattan, just one block away from Times Square. This one-day event brings filmmakers and audiences together for honest and deeply human stories of faith, struggle, and redemption. The theme for this inaugural New York City festival is In the Bleak Midwinter. Along with bold screenings, we'll host workshops led by industry veterans and our Pitch Fest, as well as an award show and an after party. Hard Faith exists to tell stories that liberate. Join us. Tickets and info at hardfaithfest.com. Please buy your tickets while supplies last.
I think people think, when I first started making movies, I learned right away that there's all these stories in Hollywood Reporter or all these things that sound like an overnight success. No one has an overnight success. And very rarely do people knock on other people's doors. You as a filmmaker have to knock on the doors. I have been waiting now 26 years for someone to knock on my door and say, I'm going to give you the deal of a lifetime. It's just, and I had a dear friend, Evan Glaudel, who made a movie called Bellflower. He had been in LA working on independent shorts, making his own movies for like 15 years. And he got into Sundance, and all the trades said he was an overnight success. And he laughed so much. He was like, I'm an overnight success 15 years later. I've been living in my car. I've done all the typical filmmaker thing to get my movies made. When he got to Sundance, they called him an overnight success. So because that's a great story, but you guys, there really is no such thing. And there really is no such thing that a movie just takes off without a ton of marketing, a ton of people behind it working very hard. I love one of the brothers, I can't remember which one, when he says the Calvary is never coming. Like, people think the Calvary's coming. Even when you make a movie that goes to Sundance and you get an agent and they're like, oh, we're going to get you 50 meetings this year. And then he said, I had 50 meetings and never made a movie, because the Calvary is not coming. You are the Calvary, and you have to go make another movie, and you have to be the one who's creating your own projects. So I just think all that myth makes it seem like, oh, you just make a movie, or I've had a ton of successful movies and I don't have a 3-picture deal with a studio. So I think that, it's just realistic that probably doesn't happen very often, if ever.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is actually like one of the reasons why I asked you to do the mentorship program with me, is because you bring such reality to the conversation, where you're not going to tell someone that, oh, it's easy, you just do this. And you also regularly say there is no golden road. If there was one, we'd all be on it. And it's true. So I love that, like, you're teaching people, like, yes, okay, these are the things that you need to do, but at the same time, it's like there really are no rules, and your job is to figure out how to make it work each step of the way.
I just said that this morning in the FAP Association networking event that I was happy to be with. It was so awesome. And we went out into breakout rooms, and a girl was telling me all the things she told me people told her she couldn't do. And I sat there and I was like, I don't believe in rules. Don't listen to naysayers. It's in my book, a whole chapter on do not listen to naysayers. For those who say it cannot be done, do not interrupt the one who is out there doing it. I love that quote. And I'm like, excuse me, there is no rules. And I do think creating good content will always stand you out among the crowd of you want to make great content first and foremost, and try to always be a level of excellence so that you will continue to stand out. And we put a lot of our heart, blood, sweat, and tears into making our movies as beautiful as we possibly can, so that we are competing in the market. And that's what I encourage even faith-based filmmakers to at least, get the best people you can on your set, and get the best clothes and the best production design, and blow it out of the water so that you can compete, because it is very competitive out there. You can't just throw something together and think, oh, that's just going to go out and do great. No, you got to be excellent at what you do.
Yeah,
sorry, I don't know, it was a tangent, but there are no rules, no golden road.
Exactly. And I love, like, a lot of our job is being problem solvers. Like, we have to figure out, okay, so what's working, what's not working? How do we fix what's not working? Or can it be fixed, or is it something that we need to adjust? Which will take me actually to we're going to go into a little bit deeper on this later about the need for flexibility. In the next episode, we'll jump into that. But I will say that on Bible College, which is a series that I'm working on, I'm one of the creators on it and one of the screenwriters. And we had written the script, which we were very happy for. But there was one scene that we couldn't produce it. We couldn't film it on the day that we were in production for everything else. So we filmed everything but this one scene, because we needed more people for that scene. We needed to have a band on the stage. It was a big scene. And so we were like, okay, we'll do it as a pickup. And so the producer, Jason, was, trying to work out with the location of when we could do this and when we'd have access to the band and all of these things. And there were just a lot of moving parts to make this scene happen. And 2 months later, we still had not gotten an opportunity. And there was no opportunity in sight. It just seemed like there was just friction. That's it. And so I was like, Jason, do you think maybe we could rewrite it in a setting that we do have access to, something that we would actually be able to just get in right away and make it happen. And he's like, okay, let me think on that. And this is what is so great about working with people that are problem solvers and are professionals, and they're also getter-doners, because he was also feeling the pressure. He wanted to get this done. And so he thought about it, and he's like, I got it. How about instead of having it in the church sanctuary with all of this stuff happening, the purpose of that scene, the actual reason the scene was there, was for this one particular character to make an announcement. A very important announcement, but it was literally just to make the announcement. And so he's like, let's have that character on the beach making the announcement. Because the end of the episode, we're actually on the beach. And so he said that. I was like, this is perfect. You start and you're ending, and you end on the beach. Yes. So the other writer and I, we got together, we rewrote the scene, and he went and shot it like 2 days later. And I think it looks better than it would have if it had been on like the stage in the church like this. It's a completely different feel, and I think it sets a different tone. And if we did not have that flexibility, if we only had that one vision that we were like, this is it has to be this, we'd probably still be waiting.
Yep. And I love the beach. I got to get a sneak peek, and I think it adds more production value. And I think so a lot of people feel very close to God in nature. So actually for me, as an audience member, I was more connected to that scene because they were on the beach than if they were just in a church sanctuary. I feel like it's more actually how a lot of people really can understand the love of God is being in nature. So I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. You've been an amazing asset actually along the way as well, that we've been able to meet with you. And just so you guys know, listeners, if you need to meet with Alexandra and ask her questions and get some, mentorship, she actually is available to book mentorship with. You can go to fafassociation.com, and under professional services, I think is what the tab says, there's mentorship there, and Alexandra is one of our mentors. So go ahead and book a time with her, and you can ask her all these questions, whatever you're struggling with. She can help you brainstorm and figure some stuff out.
I would love to.
And of course, if you would like to join our mentorship program, then you are absolutely welcome. It comes with hours of content. Like this was one kind of taste of being able to hear some of the wisdom of Alexandra. But if you have been to any of her workshops at the festivals, you know that even if they give her 2 hours for a workshop, which they usually don't, there's no way she can fit everything that she's learned into 2 hours. And so the way that we've done this mentorship is we've actually broken it down where it's like, okay, so here's this piece. Let's talk about this till you've said everything you needed to say about it. And then we move on to the next piece. And so it's ended up being like hours of content, so that people can actually go and hear the details of how to the things you need to know. So whether it's about writing a story from the perspective of knowing this is going to work for distribution, or if it's like how do you go into production in the most cost-effective way, or even now that your movie is done, how do you get it out there? How do you market it? Like we go through the whole thing. And then also she's now doing this series where she's talking about each of her movies individually, how she made them for the budget that she made them for, which you guys, they're all micro budgets. So this is the only way to actually make money back on your movie right now.
They are doable budgets. I am not up in the $6 million budget range. They're very doable. Yeah. And you guys, the mentorship class is so amazing. It is everything I wish I had when I made my first feature film. And so I do encourage you to take it, because I had to learn along the way, and I couldn't find anything that gave this much information on how to succeed as an independent filmmaker. So I do encourage you guys to take the class, because trust me, as somebody who started out with I don't know anything and I got to figure it out, I would have loved to have had this. And in fact, Helena Santos, who joined the At Your Own Risk, who was my producing partner on At Your Own Risk, joined our workshop for At Your Own Risk and heard about the class and was like, called me afterwards. And she was like, Alexandra, this is everything we needed in our 20s in LA that no one provided. This is brilliant. So it's even vetted through some other Hollywood veterans who've been out there a long time working in the industry, being like, wow, I didn't have this when I started out. So it's a great resource. Take advantage of it.
Yeah. And the mentorship side of it is that it does come with 6 hours of mentorship, 3 hours with me, 3 hours with Alexandra. So as you're going through all of the video modules and stuff like that, you can be working on your own project. And then when you need to actually talk to someone, you have access to that. And for anybody that's thinking, oh, it's expensive, you know what else is expensive? Mistakes.
Yep.
Learning the hard way. That is also expensive.
Way. Yep. It's very affordable for what you're going to get out of it. And like I've said, I've spent 26 years learning all of that so that I could give it to you guys for a much cheaper price than 26 years of hard work and trying to figure it out.
Amen. All right. So we're going to end this here. And in the next episode, I really want to dive into some of the things that we have noticed as we're mentoring people, that these are the holdups. Mm-hmm. This is what is keeping them from being able to move forward. And so we're going to dive into that in the next episode. So we'll see you guys there. Thank you, Alexandra.
Thank you, Jaclyn.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers podcast. If you've been enjoying this podcast, take a moment to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to support the production of this podcast, you can leave a tip at faffpodcast.com/support. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.